Welcome to Rise Up in Business, the law podcast for small business owners. I'm your host, Tracy Myler-Crane. I'm a business lawyer, an entrepreneur, and very much a realist. Rise Up in Business is designed to share with small business owners important legal information and some clever tips and tricks in short and sharp episodes, no legal jargon. With this podcast, I want to empower small business owners to rise up and take control in their business. I'll be here every Wednesday to tell you what you need to know without sending you to sleep. Let's get into today's episode. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 14. So far in this podcast series, I've talked a lot about setting up good foundations for business, what you need to know, why you need to know it, and how to do it. If you've been listening to me for a little while, then you'll know that I really do advocate for prevention being better than cure in business. So avoiding those tricky situations and those disputes down the track by spending some time and getting things right at the outset. In today's episode, I want to talk about what my top 5 tips are to help your business stay well with the concept of prevention being better than cure in mind. So to start, number 1, my first tip in business is to get your business structure right and to do so from the start. So we all hear people say, I'm a sole trader for now. I'm either going to wait until I'm profitable or I'm going to wait and see whether this works, if this is really a thing, before I take the plunge and set up as a corporate entity or another structure. And whilst, yes, I can see that there might be some logic behind that, my overwhelming advice is don't take that approach. If it is your intention to operate as a corporate entity, do it sooner rather than later, because there are both logistical and administrative reasons as to why that can be better for you. There can be tax reasons. I'll leave that to your accountant. But also, from my perspective, there's very real asset protection. So you may be exposed in your business without actually realising it, and you don't actually get the protection that you would otherwise have if you were a corporate entity. So those are some key fundamental reasons why it is that I don't encourage putting off setting up that corporate structure if that's ultimately what you intend to do anyway. My next tip is legals. Get your business legals right. So I've talked a lot about business legals in this podcast and in my blogs and in my social media content. The business legals you need for any service-based business, your core documents are your business terms and conditions, also referred to as your business service agreement or your terms of trade, your website terms and conditions if you operate a website, and most businesses do, and a privacy policy, because no doubt you'll be collecting personal data and you'll need to be disclosing to people how it is you're going to use that data or not use it. So they're your core legal documents. Then, of course, you need to turn your mind to your individual business and what it is that you do as to what additional documents you may need. So, for example, consulting agreements, supply agreements, distribution agreements, things like that. Of course, an extension of your business legals is your employment contracts or your contractor agreements with your employees or contractors. Know the difference, get it right, and make sure that's recorded correctly in writing at the outset. My third tip, which is often overlooked because people see it as boring and dull, unfortunately, is get your required insurances and licenses sorted. So it may seem dull, but trust me, it really is one of the most important things you could ever do in your business, because it gives you protection and peace of mind. And of course, it makes sure you're complying with your legal obligations, and it makes sure that you're permitted to do whatever it is that you're doing in your business. This is a big one. The next one, number 4, is debt management. So let's be honest, in business, we want to get paid. Cash flow is the cornerstone of every business. We need to make sure we've got policies and procedures in place to ensure that that can actually happen. So, for example, you start with your business terms and conditions. It's giving you the right to get paid and giving you the right to press for payment if you need to. It sets out your payment terms, what you'll be paid, how you'll be paid, etc. You need to then make sure whatever software you're using for your accounting, you have set up your issuing of invoices process, you've set up the automatic reminders, and you've got pop-ups that come up to let you know if someone hasn't paid. Make sure you're across that, because it's really important. Otherwise, you can find yourself in a position where all of a sudden the cash stops flowing. You then need to make sure that you're fully across what it is you're going to do if you have a client who, 1, doesn't pay, or 2, challenges the invoice that you've issued. Just have a strategy in place to deal with it, because you'll find that when it happens, and there's always one at some point in business, that's just part of running business, but when it happens, you'll know what to do, and you'll find that you're more responsive and less reactive, and that can be really important. Personally, my advice here too is to have a good relationship with your business lawyer, so that if you do find yourself in a tricky situation where a client is either refusing to pay or a client has raised an issue and you're not quite sure how to deal with it, then you can simply reach out, pick up the phone or send an email to your business lawyer and get some guidance at the outset on how to deal with it. So I did an episode recently on what not to do when things go wrong in business. So if you haven't listened, please do, because that tells you all the things that I suggest you don't do when a situation like this arises. But what I think you should do is either rely on your strategy or rely on your processes to deal with it seamlessly and smoothly, or call on your business lawyer to get some support and ask questions as and when you need to. And finally, my number 5 tip is to review and update regularly. So it's one thing to have your business structure set up, to have your legals in place, your contracts and your documents and your insurances. That's all great. But as we grow in business and as things develop, things change, which means at some point in time, perhaps your business structure no longer serves you. Or perhaps your legals have become outdated because the nature of your services has slightly changed. Your packages perhaps may have developed, or the goods that you're selling may have changed. Perhaps your payment terms have changed, or your pricing. Those types of things need to be updated in your legals. If you have employees, are the employment contracts that you have still current? Are your full-time employees still full-time, part-time and casual, and so on? Making sure these things are current and up to date is just as important as having them in place in the first place. Take insurance, for example. Each year you need to pay premiums for the insurance policy to continue. Make sure you take the time to review the policies and to review what you're covered for, to make sure that it still works for you and that it still suits. The last thing we want in business is to overlook these things, to think that we have everything in order, and then when we need to rely on our documents or rely on our insurance cover, all of a sudden we realise they're outdated, we haven't taken the time to update them, and we don't have the protection that we need. This, my lovely listeners, is the cornerstone of prevention being better than cure. Taking the time to make sure we've got these things right can save a lot of grief, stress, and money down the track if we've missed something. Something that I find very beneficial when we're talking about reviewing and updating is my business legal strength check, and I've designed it for business owners for this very reason. Something that you can pull out annually, make sure everything's ticked off, yes, that's all still current, circle what needs attention, and get on the phone and action it. If you're doing that at least annually, then you can have that peace of mind that nothing's fallen through the gaps, you haven't forgotten everything, and actually you can be really proud that yes, everything in business really is in order. So to recap, my top 5 tips to help your business stay well. 1, get your business structure right and from the very beginning. 2, get your legals in order. 3, make sure you've got your insurances and the licenses that you need. 4, have a really sound debt management process in place. And 5, make sure you review and update at least annually. As always, I hope that's been helpful. Any questions, reach out. That's what I'm here for. Catch you next time. That's it for today's episode. Short and sharp, just like I promised. If you liked the episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes, and I would be most grateful if you would leave a review on Apple Podcast. As always, remember to keep your business legals in order with my Business Legal Strength Check. Grab your free copy by heading over to my website, tmsolicitor.com.au. I'll catch you next Wednesday. Thanks so much for listening.